Guten Tag und willkommen zur 5. Woche im Semester. In dieser Woche lernen wir ein wichtiges grammatisches Thema, den Accusativ. Und wir lernen auch, wie man die Verneinungswörter nicht und kein richtig benutzt. Wir sprechen auch ein bisschen über Häuser und Wohnungen in Deutschland und wir lernen, wie man sein eigenes Haus und seine eigene Wohnlage beschreiben kann. Aber jetzt die Erklärungen auf Englisch. One of the first topics that you'll be learning this week is how to talk about various things relating to housing, living, apartments, houses, and of course furniture items in German. Now, of course, Germans live more or less the same way that Americans do. They might live in a house, an apartment, a rented room, any sort of situation. A couple of comments on some of the material that your book gives to you, which you will need to learn and understand as you walk through those topics. Please note that in general, in Europe and in Germany in particular, houses and apartments tend to be smaller than those in America. We're used to our very large living rooms, kitchens, bedrooms, etc. Their apartments tend to be quite a bit smaller. Your book cites the statistic of 96 square meters for the average, which is of course the average of apartments and houses put together. So be prepared if you ever do travel or live overseas that the apartments will be quite a bit smaller. Some other things that you should be aware of, you'll be learning quite a bit of new vocabulary regarding furniture items, rooms in a house, and other miscellaneous vocabulary that relates to housing and living. As you learn these, you will need to spend time either flashcarding the items, you can use our Quizlet website for that, or using the lab assignments and the Learn Smart vocabulary practice under the lab assignments category. When you learn these items, these furniture and other types of housing vocabulary, please make sure that you're learning them correctly with their genders. Der, die, or das. That's a vital part of learning new vocabulary words in German. For example, when you learn the word for table, you have to learn that it is der Tisch, a masculine noun. And when you learn the word for lamp, you will have to learn that it is die Lampe, a feminine noun. And when you learn the word for sofa or couch, you'll have to learn that it is das Sofa, a neuter noun. We will expect you to be able to describe your own personal living situation. You, of course, don't have to tell the truth if you prefer to make up items about how you live, but we will want you to express many sentences about how you live, what is inside your house or room or apartment, and some just general descriptions of your life in general and your living situation. So let me give you an example of how I would describe my living situation, and hopefully you can follow along and see what kinds of things we'll expect you to be able to say soon. Ich habe ein Haus. Mein Haus ist ziemlich groß und es ist ruhig, nicht sehr laut. Mein Haus hat 3 Schlafzimmer, ein Wohnzimmer und eine Küche. Ich habe auch ein Arbeitszimmer oder eine Bibliothek und viele Bücherregale. Im Wohnzimmer habe ich ein Sofa, einen großen Fernseher, eine Lampe und 2 Computer. Ich habe einen Computer und mein Mann, der mit mir wohnt, hat auch einen Computer. Wir haben auch 2 Schreibtische, weil wir 2 Computer haben. Wir haben auch eine Katze. Sie heißt Agal. Ich habe auch einen Garten im Hinterhof, aber ich arbeite nicht gern im Garten und es gibt viel Unkraut dort. Ich finde mein Haus sehr schön, aber es ist ein bisschen zu groß und es kostet auch ziemlich viel. Did you understand everything I said? I hope so for the most part. And certainly as you work through this week learning the new vocabulary and how to talk about your own living situations, you will be able to produce sentences more or less of that type by the end of next week. That's about it for our furniture and housing topic. The next thing we'll move on to are some grammatical topics. The first and relatively small grammar topic we have to cover this week is how to use the verb haben correctly in all its forms. Haben, of course, means to have in English. And by now you've already picked up that it's pretty easy to say, Ich habe ein Haus. But we need to make sure you understand that the verb haben is just a slight bit irregular in some of its forms. The main problem is that the B in haben disappears in the du and sie es form. So let me walk through the conjugation with you and make sure that you do know how to use the verb haben correctly. To say I have, you say ich habe. That's exactly what you'd expect from any German verb. In the du form, to say you have, the B disappears. It is du hast. You'll know that from the Rammstein song Du hast, and that might help you to remember that the verb haben is just a teeny bit irregular. The irregularity continues in the forms for he, she, and it, sie, and es. You say hat, he has, and sie hat, she has, and es hat, it has. There's no B in any of those forms, just hat. Once you move over to the plural side of a grammar chart and you get the subjects we or you all of you, and they, and the formal sie form, the verb becomes irregular again, and so there's nothing more to worry about. What would you expect to say we have? Sure enough, wir haben. And how would you expect to say you guys have, all of you have? Using the ihr pronoun, you would say ihr habt. With the B, it does appear in the ihr habt form. And finally, the they form, they have, sie haben, which of course is the same as the formal you with the capital S, sie haben. So again, it's only the forms du hast and hat or sie hat for he has or she has, where you have to watch out and take away the B in the middle of haben. That's the verb to have, and now we can move on to the much bigger topic of the accusative case in German. So that is our next major grammar topic. The accusative case is a major new topic for this chapter, and it's something that we don't have in English. It's a new concept for you in addition to just a new form to be worried about. In fact, as far as I know, it doesn't exist in Spanish or in French, so even if you know either of those languages, you're still going to have to be learning something brand new in order to talk correctly about objects in the accusative case in German. First off, we need to explain what is the accusative case and when do you need to use it. The accusative case is used with direct objects. If you think back to maybe your 3rd or 4th grade English classes, at some point you had to learn what is a direct object in a sentence. But most of us have forgotten that information because we don't think about it, and we don't need to know that in our daily usage of English. Let me give you some examples and see if you can understand what the direct object in a sentence is, even in English. For instance, the boy hit the ball. What did the boy hit? The ball is the direct object of that sentence. I am writing a letter. What am I writing? A letter is the direct object of the sentence. Now, very often direct objects are in fact objects or things, but they can be people. So if I say the sentence, I see a man, all of a sudden there's the man as the direct object of the sentence. Do you see how it works? You have a subject that is doing the action of the verb, and you have a direct object which is being acted upon, is being verbed in some sense. The same will be true in German. If you say the sentence, I have a house, in German, ich habe ein Haus, the house part of that sentence is in the accusative case. What we now need to learn is how to change the article, the der, die, or das, to make sure that it's the correct one for the direct object in the sentence. I just gave you the sentence, Ich habe ein Haus. Let's talk through masculine, feminine, and neuter objects and see how they change in the accusative. So, a masculine noun, for instance, der Hund, the dog. When that dog is the subject of the sentence, der Hund ist braun, he will be a der article. That is the nominative case for subjects in German. But when that dog becomes the direct object of a sentence, I love the dog. I'm doing the loving, but the dog is now the direct object. And in German, you must say, Ich liebe den Hund. The original der Hund changes into den Hund in the accusative case when it is the direct object of a sentence. Only the masculine articles, der words, change in the accusative case in German. The feminine and the neuter and even the plural forms do not change or do not show any difference in their articles when they are direct objects. I just gave you the example of Ich liebe den Hund, which is den because it's a masculine Hund. But if you change that sentence to I love the cat, die Katze in German is feminine. So you would say Ich liebe die Katze. The die does not change in the accusative case. It doesn't show any difference. The same is true of a neuter or das word. The word for horse in German is das Pferd. If you want to say I love the horse, you can still say Ich liebe das Pferd, because a das word doesn't show any difference in the accusative case. What you need to watch out for are the masculine nouns. When something was a der Hund or der Mann or der Tisch, in the nominative or subject of the sentence, when it becomes a direct object and you're using it in a sentence that way, you need to change that der into den instead. Additionally, the word ein or eine or einen will also show this change in the accusative. We know that if you want to say a computer, you would just say ein Computer, if it's the subject of a sentence. But if you want to say, I have a computer, you've just made it a direct object of the sentence. So you must say, Ich habe einen Computer. Because der Computer or ein Computer, because it is a masculine noun, when it becomes a direct object, you can no longer use ein with it. You must use einen. Ich habe einen Computer. If you have a feminine or a neuter noun, again, the eine or ein forms will not show any difference in the accusative case. If you want to say, I have a lamp, the feminine eine Lampe doesn't change in the accusative. You would say, Ich habe eine Lampe. And if you have a poster, it is das Poster, it's a neuter noun, so you can still say, Ich habe ein Poster. Just remember, for both the der changing into den and the ein changing into einen, that it is only the masculine nouns that are affected by this change in the accusative case. Anytime you have a masculine noun as a direct object, you will need to use a word ending in n, either den or einen, and later we will learn that you can also say meinen and deinen and other forms of that word, but they will all end in n for the masculine accusative. I know that's a complicated topic, and for many students it's quite tricky to figure out what the direct object is in a sentence and when you need to change it. I hope that as you walk through the exercises in your book, maybe you can watch some extra videos that are linked at the bottom of the week 5 page. You should be able to get a handle on it pretty quickly. If you do have any questions, don't hesitate to email or Skype with me to clarify if you're having confusion about what direct objects are and when you need to change der into den and ein into einen. That's about it for the accusative case. We'll move on to a couple of smaller grammar topics at this point. A smaller topic that we're dealing with this week are what is called the der words in German. Now, obviously, the word der is itself a der word, as is die and das, because they simply mean the. But there are a couple of other words that you will need to learn that follow the same patterns as der, die, and das. Before we go into the details, do look at the endings of der, which ends in an R, die, which ends in an E, and das, which ends in an S. Those final letters, the R, E, and S, are very important in German, and they signify or carry the meaning of the gender information. Every time you say der Mann, you're indicating that the object or man you're talking about is masculine. Similarly, any word ending in die or meine or eine with an E at the end is going to be a feminine noun. And a word ending in S like das is going to be neuter. Those same letters, R, E, S, will appear at the end of the other der words because they are the same type of word. One of these words is dieser, which means this or that. They don't really distinguish between this and that in German. So if you say, dieser Computer ist gut, you've just said this computer is good. What ending did I put on dieser there? I put an R because der Computer is masculine. But if I want to say diese Lampe, this lamp, or that lamp in English, I've put an E at the end of diese to indicate the feminine lamp. Just like I would say die Lampe, I have to say diese Lampe. And if I have a neuter word like dieses Sofa, that sofa, or this sofa, it's going to end in an S because das Sofa is a neuter word, and I need to keep the S ending on dieses. The only additional thing to remember is the accusative case. When you change a der word into den as a direct object, for instance, ich liebe den Hund, I love the dog. If you want to say I love this dog, what ending will you have to put on dieser? You'll have to say ich liebe diesen Hund. The N ending, the same ending as you have made for den Hund, also carries over to diesen Hund. The other der word which you'll need to learn this week is the word for which, a question word in German, and that is welcher. And again, just like der, die, and das, and dieser, diese, dieses, the last letter of welcher will change according to what gender the object is you're talking about. If you want to say, which man is that? Welcher Mann ist das? With an R at the end. Which cat is that? Welche Katze ist das? With an E for the feminine Katze. And welches Buch ist das? Would be which book with the neuter S ending. Again, if you do have an object or direct object in the accusative case with a masculine noun, you will need to add the N to the end and have welchen as your accusative masculine. If you ask, which man are you talking to, or which man did you see, or which man do you love? That's an easy one. Which man do you love? In German, the man is actually the direct object. You're the one doing the loving. So you have to ask, welchen Mann liebst du? If you want to say, which computer are you buying? Computer, again, masculine noun. You're buying it. It's a direct object. You must say, welchen Computer kaufst du? Which computer are you buying? The same way you would say, ich kaufe diesen Computer, you also have to ask the question with, welchen Computer kaufst du? That's about it for the Dieser and Welcher, or the der words in German. As you read, if you read other sources, you may run into other der words. There are a few others, solcher, jeder, etc. You are not required to know anything other than dieser and welcher at this point for our class. We will come back to der words at later topics in later chapters and cover them in more detail later. But for now, dieser and welcher with their proper endings are important to learn. Our final grammatical topic for the week is how to negate a sentence in German, which just means making it a negative rather than a positive statement. English examples would be, I don't have a brother, or I don't have any time, or I have no friends, or that isn't a cat, it's a dog. When you want to negate a sentence in German, you have to be careful because there are actually two different words you can put into a sentence to show the negative version, and you have to choose which is the correct one. The two options are nicht or kein. Nicht is pretty obvious. We have not in English. If you want to negate a sentence like I am old and say I am not old, you're just going to put nicht into the sentence. Ich bin nicht alt. If you want to say, I don't like to do something, and you're using that gern adverb that means I like to do it, then you can put nicht before it. Ich gehe nicht gern ins Kino. I don't like going to the movies. If somebody asks you how you're doing and you want to say, it's not going well, you want to say nicht gut in German, or the full sentence, es geht nicht gut. A couple other examples with nicht, if you want to say, no, he doesn't come from Germany. That's a negative sentence. You're negating from Germany, so you want to say, nein, kommt nicht aus Deutschland. And finally, if you're negating your ownership or possession of something, like, that's not my dog, then you want to say, das ist nicht mein Hund. The other option for negating sentences and negating ideas in German is the word kein. And as you probably have picked up, kein is very much like the ein word. It has the same kind of endings as the ein word. You might say kein for a neuter or masculine noun. You might say keine for a feminine or plural noun. And you might even say keinen for a masculine accusative noun as a direct object. Notice that every single one of my examples with kein said a noun, and that's the only time when you must use kein, is when you're negating and the word that directly follows what you want to negate is a noun. A quick reminder that all nouns in German are capitalized. So if the sentence you're writing and you're wanting to negate something, if the object starts with a capital letter, you're going to want to use a form of kein with that. For example, I don't have a dog. A dog is a noun, so you need to say in German, ich habe keinen Hund. Two things happen in that sentence. First, you need to choose to use kein because the Hund is a noun. Secondly, you need to add keinen, the n ending on it. Why? Because it is a masculine noun and it's a direct object. It uses the accusative case. Again, I don't have a dog. Ich habe keinen Hund. How would you say I don't have a cat? A cat is a feminine noun in German. So you're going to need to say ich habe keine Katze with that feminine E ending. If you want to say I don't have a house is a neuter noun in German. And there you can leave the kein exactly in its base form. Ich habe kein Haus. Kein will only be used with nouns, a capital letter. Any other time you want to negate the sentence that you're talking about, whether it's an adjective, a verb, a sequence of a phrase of words like aus Deutschland or mein Hund, etc., then you will want to use nicht. So reserve the kein for nouns and remember to put the correct endings, whether it be a feminine E or a masculine accusative en. Your three options at this point would be kein, keine, and keinen, depending on the sentence you're constructing. That about wraps up the topics we needed to cover for week 5. Just a reminder as you finish and keep working on your assignments this week that you should remember to check in on your lab assignments. At the end of the semester, you are expected to have 16.6 hours of lab time. It is now the 5th week in the semester. By week 5, technically speaking, you should have about 5 hours of lab time already. Some of you do have that much, but others of you have not made much progress in the lab hours category. Although that doesn't dramatically hurt your letter grade in this class, it will affect whether you pass or fail the lab section that you are concurrently enrolled for. I also strongly recommend you to try out the lab assignments because some of them are quite helpful as you practice your vocabulary and grammar for the chapters that we are covering. In particular, many students have found that the Learn Smart activities, which focus on either vocabulary or grammar, are very helpful. They give you instantaneous feedback about whether you're right or wrong. They're sort of tailored to walk you through various steps of the chapter and give you repeated practice and exposure to different topics that you need to be learning. So if you haven't already, please try the Learn Smart assignments on the lab assignments category because I think they will be very helpful in practicing and mastering the material that you've been learning. Plus, of course, you do need the lab time to complete your lab section of this class. We're just about finished for the week, or for this video anyway. You certainly have more work to do for the week. As you complete your work, as you work on the assignments, a reminder that you can always contact me for help in Skype, or by email, or even a telephone call if you need to. I wish you the best of luck, and I'm always here to help. If you have any questions for me, just let me know. Viel Glück und viel Spaß in der kommenden Woche. Auf Wiedersehen.